please like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, my name is IKYA and I have a question about time. Are there different types of time? The reason I ask is because I often experience that time varies depending on where I'm at, what I do, if I'm bored, etc. And also it seems like my experience of time is different from other people and maybe also other life forms. So I don't know. I'm just curious about if time is static or there are different types of time. Thank you.
Time is interesting because in itself, it does not exist. It is connected to a manifestation, to a space and the experience of it. Now, science have become more aware of the fact that time and space does not exist in itself. This is still in the very beginning, but one is starting to kind of crack that bubble and that assumption that time and space exist in itself as a premise. Now, I've always started in the other end and see that time and space is part of the projection. And if we can then think that when something is in existence, and just bear with me now, this can be a little bit difficult to understand. When you have something in existence, it's not just the object that exists. Part of that object is the space it is in, and the time, and the different laws of nature. That is part of the object, which means every single thing in existence has different time, different space, different laws of nature. The reason why we experience this with many different objects is because there are enough kind of variables that are close enough for them to exist in what seems to be the same space. But it's more of a space octave. There are many different kind of vibrational realities, but they're so close that we can experience them as one space. And within that, there is also time. But understand that it's really the result of the projected manifestation. It's not that the manifestation is being created in the space. So, when it comes to time, every single manifestation will operate on different time because that is part of why it is what it is. If we think of very simply, the reason why everything is different is because it's built on different information, different vibration, different materials, different realities. And remember, what we perceive as a reality is one of infinite layers and variations of dimensions and realities. This is just the octave that this life form can experience. So, most people have had experience with time being flexible because it is. We have the collective sense of time, which we measure with our watches, but it doesn't really exist. It's the assumption of the time we experience based on our own observation within this space, but it will always be able to kind of change slightly. That belongs to the collective experience, and the more individuals who are projecting the same premise of reality, the more that will become stable. Now, when you, for instance, are by yourself and you do something that you're passionate about, we've all been there. Time changes. You have a different experience of time, and you can suddenly be kind of lost. You have no idea what even time is. because when you are doing what you are doing, that manifestation also means it exists in its own space and in its own time. And therefore, it operates slightly different than the collective reality and the collective time. And this is why you can sometimes feel that you've been doing something for a short time and 6 hours went by, or sometimes the opposite. Time is not kind of linear, it's not kind of static. Everything in existence is organic. It flows, it pulsates, it breathes. Everything moves. So time is more rhythmic, it's more musical. So it means it can like flow and then like stop and move here and there. It's not consistent. And when you look at different forms of time next to each other, you will start seeing that it's more flexible. But in what we can refer to as subjective time, we experience this more clearly because it's very difficult to pinpoint and measure, because also science has not really reached that point yet. Science has reached a point where one understands that time is not real in itself. And it's just fascinating to see that when we're in a flow and in a rhythm, we can just get a very different sense of time and also space. And that belongs to the specific reality that we're in, the specific thing we're doing, the specific manifestation. So, understand that for something to be in existence, it has all these different levels. So you cannot separate the manifestation from the space and time it is in, because it's the same thing. It's just different aspects of the same manifestation, all being slightly different. So when you interact with something, you will be part of that time. When you do something else, it will be part of that time. It's all flowing. And if you had no way to measure time, and your starting point was relating to the fact that every single manifestation operates on different time and space, you would experience it that way. So when we listen and we try to get into the rhythm of something, we start experiencing a very different time. And many of you will also have experienced this. We get into this, what we call the point of synchronicity, where everything just seems to work. It's a rhythm. You do something there and it flows there. Like you just move from that point to that point. You can see that both you and the space is operating as one. That is also being in that specific subjective time related to that type of reality that you're connected to. And when you, in kind of your mind, emotions, and body and actions are kind of in the same point, then you will experience that rhythm, that movement, that sense of time and space more specifically. Because remember, today we are involved in so many different things. We have multiple thoughts at the same time, multiple feelings, multiple actions, multiple plans and strategies going on at the same time. So we're not really good at experiencing kind of separate forms of time. And this is why it's important, if we want to experience it, we have to kind of let ourselves be embraced in one specific thing. That takes all our focus. And this, when we ever, like, if we have a hobby, as I said, if we do something that we're truly passionate about, we're completely focused, we're concentrated. Our mind, emotions, focus, actions, body, rhythm, everything is the same expression. And that's how we tap into that kind of local expression of time. And that's why we also disconnect from the collective sense of time, which operates differently. And it's just fun. I think we all should experiment more with this, because it's getting a concrete experience that time and space is not real. It's extremely flexible. And it's not a philosophy, it's concrete. but it requires for all these levels inside of you to be in the same point. And finding your passion and being completely in it, you will experience it. And I think all of you who have had that type of experience have seen very clearly that time and space operates differently. So, can we learn to manipulate time at will? Yes. In many spiritual traditions, learning to manipulate what we until recently in science thought was like physical law has been part of the disciplines. Learning to manipulate space and time and matter and whatever else has been a sign of you setting yourself free from the collective and being controlled by it. Because when you are completely in your own space, completely in your own reality, your own consciousness, and you're in complete control over that, time, space, and matter will start manifesting around you. You will become natural law in yourself. And therefore, all these elements will then start to operate based on you. So in all deep spiritual traditions, this has been part of what students need to go through. And as I say, it's the result of demonstrating your own detachment from the world, from the collective, from even this body that we're in. So is it possible? Yes. Do I teach it? Yes, I do. It takes time to learn, though, and it's not a goal in itself. It's just fun to be able to experiment with what we assume to be kind of concrete and real. Understand that, yes, it is real, but it's still flexible. And to learn to use it, as I say, like to measure how dedicated are you to your own consciousness? How dedicated are you to being a presence of reality completely aligned with your own uniqueness and vibration? When that happens, nature will respond to that. It's not mystical, it's not magical. It's a natural part of spiritual training.